You know, this is an interesting time in our industry, the automotive aftermarket. There's a lot of shops for sale, a lot of shops going out of business. My name is Jimmy Lee. I'm here with Michael Smith. We are going to talk about some of those exit strategies and how you can set yourself up for success. So Michael, a question for you. I'm a shop owner. I'm ready to sell my business. I've got a son, a daughter, a key employee that I'm going to sell my business to. What does that look like? How can I sell it today?
Right. That's what you just described as the traditional way that an owner would sell the business, is to transfer it to a family member or to a key employee. It's not about, you start to prepare now is the first thing I'd say to an owner. Don't wait to get near when you want to be out and then think about what it looks like to turn it over. And the best way I describe this to an owner typically is to say, especially if there's owner financing involved and the key employee or family member can't buy it with cash, this is still your business. You may not be in it, but in essence, you're renting it through a progressive sale to the next person to take it over. So for my business, I would want to be preparing the leadership, the business. I would treat the business like a house before you fix it up and sell it. Fix it up so that it looks the best it can in the market, and then make the transaction, because it's not really going away. Yeah. And I'll come back to the leadership concept. If you dialed in your method of leadership over many years, don't imagine that the key employee who's been standing next to you for 5 has the level of depth necessary to carry the business on their shoulders the way you may have. Mm-hmm. And so leadership training and certainly getting the business dialed in, but make sure that the team is as healthy as possible. You've got the talent in place that they're going to need. And if I were an owner, I'd have my phone turned on, sitting in the background, willing to take phone calls for those sporadic, strange questions and not leave it to the person who bought it from me. You can still be on the boat, in Mexico if you want to. But I say this because if it goes sour in 3 years and you've not gotten it fully paid for, you're back into business again. And that might not be part of your retirement plan.
No, that's not part of the retirement plan.
That wasn't what I planned for.
So this is a scenario where maybe we need to go back 5 years ago and start the process. Okay, there's no 88 miles an hour. We're not going back in time.
If you need to get out in 2 minutes, we can, right? We'll still figure out how to make the most of it. But if you want to do it with the best return you can. Okay. Again, I always say this, Jimmy, you got to go back. You got to start from the end. Yeah. You got to start from the exit. When do you want to exit? How do you want to exit? What do you want from it when you exit? Who are you going to take care of when you exit? What's your life going to look like after you exit? There's lots of things to prepare ahead of time. That understanding, then you back into the business and you start thinking about strategically, okay, these are my objectives in exit. Some of them are personal, some of them are business. Now we got to pull all that stuff back to the current and see where we are, and then start to put the strategy together to close the gap on those things. And then, like anything else, you have a strategy, but then you have to move the tactical things along to get it to where you want it to go. That time frame really depends. In some ways, it's not the longer it is, but if you got enough time to work with rather than a rushed sale, it's better to do it that way, right? Yeah. Doing something in a hurry is never as good as if you took your time to think about it.
Right. So let's look at a scenario where I'm a 5-year, 10-year down the road going to sell my business. Am I better to stay with a single location and get it as dialed in as possible? So let's say I've got one location, I'm doing 6 million, or should I have 3 locations doing 6 million, or 6 locations doing 12 million? What's the scenario that we should look at?
You and I talk about this all the time. It depends. My least favorite answer, right? I give you some scenarios though. If you're going to run it and make it as profitable as possible, as simple to transfer as possible, a single shop that's as healthy financially and otherwise as possible would be preferred, because it's less complicated. If, however, there's some leverage that you want to apply to the multi-shop final product, example, if you're going to grow each of those 3 locations to be the size of the single one, you're 3 times better off or more. If you're going to take those 3 and meet with a couple of friends and put them all together and go up another notch on the private equity scale, then you need the more shops, the more EBITDA you have, the better. So it kind of comes back to how far can you dial in the one shop you have from a production, but also a profit standpoint. What profit are you looking for to need at the end, and can you get there with one? Or is there some reason to have more than one? I'm not anti-multi-shop. I'm a high growth guy. I believe in scale. But don't complicate your life by having the same EBITDA at the end with 3 stores if you can dial it in on one. However, 3 stores at that same level as the one is worth a heck of a lot more, usually more than 3 times what 3 times would become if you just did the math. And so you've got that scale question. So a lot of it comes back to, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a single shop person who can dial it in and have a reasonably, I guess, a stable company that way? Let's put it this way, that's the most stable approach you can take. If you expand, you have these issues of multi-locations, multiple managers, those kind of things, but it also opens a lot more financial opportunity. So
right. So what is the if you're looking at joining forces with friends, what's the, I'm going to use the word optimal. What's the optimal number of rooftops I should have as a shop owner? What does that look like?
Yeah, again, I'm going to say it depends on how far out you want to go to exit and how much you want to get back. And I'll say this, if you're going to go for substantial external investment with the sale, not just key people, but you're going to actually go out and bring a financial investor in or sell it to a platform. You bring a financial investor in, you're building a platform, you're becoming your own platform, and that's the greatest financial opportunity of all of the things that we're talking about. In relative terms, right? If you join a platform, which is one of those folks that did it first and now you're putting yours in with theirs, you can still get substantial return, but it's not the same as if you have the platform yourself. So then this boils back to your question, which is what's the optimal number of roofs, if you will? It depends on who you're selling it to. The private market will come to you with money depending on how big you are. So the larger you are, the more multiple they'll pay you for the EBITDA that you have. Private investors are looking for controlled risk that's going to return good money. So if you build a 10-shop system and you're very profitable, they know they're buying something that it's all about the owner walking away. We talk all the time about work on the business, not in the business. And what that means is get this thing set up so that the day they take the keys from you and hand you a check, when you walk away from that, it's almost like you were never here. It keeps going. So the number of rooftops, the higher the number of rooftops, the more money and the more multiple you're going to get on your EBITDA. And if it's a high profit, high rooftop count, you're going to get a better multiple than if it's a high rooftop, poor EBITDA count, because what that indicates is you haven't dialed it in very well. In their world, it's all about leveraging the money. We know, and the savvy ones in the private investment world know, that it isn't just about the money. Once they buy into or buy your company, it's got to perform after they buy it. It's not like, okay, game's over, take the money and go home. You've sold either all or part of your company to an investment company that wants to make it bigger again for another flip. And they need it to run better than it ever did after they buy anywhere between 51 and 100% of your company. So rooftop count matters in all kinds of different ways. The greater the rooftop plus the higher the EBITDA, the better you're going to do in terms of EBITDA multiples on the sale of your business. That's the rule of thumb, right?
And so if we're joining together a few different shop owners, 10 here, 12 here, 15 here, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but probably they're not located very close together. This might be West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. How important is the similarity of these shops to be the same?
There's like 3 questions in there, and I'm going to forget them all before we get done, but one of them is geography.
Yeah.
PE firms would prefer geographic concentration for the ease of turning it over to someone who wants to be in that space when they're done. The second one is the complexity of 5, let's just say we have 5, 4, 6, whatever, large, medium-sized companies, 10, 12 roofs, right, all working together. They would prefer to buy a single entity with the grand total of all of those under a single management system, single accounting system, single point of sale system, shop management, all that, right? Because it's easier for them. It's less problematic. When they do due diligence, they're doing it one time instead of 4, 5, 6 times. So again, they'll pay you a bit. And then third piece of this was, if you do have a multiple offering, the more similar they look to each other, even if they're separate, again, all of this affects price, right? If it's 5 disparate things in completely different places, you'll get this level of multiple on EBITDA. If they're all aggregated together and they run the same way and it's generating great profit, this is the number. And then any modifications of that will put you somewhere else on that scale. So if you are 5 companies that want to combine and do this, let's sit down and do an analysis and figure out what will you get if you don't put the effort into it, and then what will you get if you do put the effort into it. You can go faster in the sale if you don't put the work into it, but you'll get more money if you do. Right. And you may or may not want to do the work. That's okay, right? Those are strategic considerations that the group of 4, 5, 6 would have to come to together.
Right. So if we're bringing together 5 different companies to have the 30, 40, 50 rooftops, having the same point of sale system is important. Having the same digital inspection process, which goes now to your leadership, your management style, needs to be the same throughout all 5 of these.
It doesn't need to be. I keep saying preferred because the concept is it doesn't have to be that way. But the more messy it is, the less. Here's the thing. They'll pay you for cleaning up the mess. Either you clean it up ahead of time and invest in the cleanup, or they're going to buy the mess from you and have to clean it up. And if they know they're going to have to clean it up, they start stripping pieces of margin off of there, and your price is going down. For me, I would rather do the cleanup, so I'm handing them something clean. And it's not like I have to come back and fix it later in most contracts, right? But the concept is that if I've got it clean, and I come to them with it clean, and they open the box of the opportunity and look in, it's like, oh, it's it's like a polished gem instead of a rough gem to be polished. Mm-hmm. There may be inclusions in there they couldn't see when it's the rough thing they don't know. They take a little more margin off. What if this doesn't work out the way they said it would? Take a little more margin off. I do the polishing. They put their little eyepiece on and take a peek at it. This thing is beautiful. You get a different price.
So how quickly can this proceed? How quickly can we assemble rooftops partners to go to market?
You can put them together and go to market if you want to market a mess within a 6-month, maybe a 12-month period, because part of it is not just getting yourself ready, but I highly recommend there's a process of coming to the investment market in the investment market's terms, not in our terms. Every industry has lingo. Every industry has culture. They will look into an industry like ours and say, we can teach them a few things if we look like we don't know what they're talking about. If we sit down at the table and say, can we just talk in your terms for a couple minutes? They're like, ooh, that would be a surprise, right? That's not what I expected, not just from this industry, but from the people that we do this kind of work with. Let's hand you our documentation to show you what we've done to be ready to talk to you. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is great. We never get data this way, right? What's your strategy look like? Well, here you go. It's like, wow, you guys got your stuff together. Every one of those little moments, this first impression, if you will, is putting margin back on the potential that they would pay, right? It's the whole thing is here's what we might pay, and now let's start looking. And by the way, due diligence processes are the same way. Even after letter of intent, when there's a number on a piece of paper, it's like buying a piece of real estate. Yeah, I'll give you that price. Now the inspector comes in. Anybody who's bought property understands how that works, right? This is the same way. Here's what we're going to pay. Now we go to due diligence, and they're not reducing the multiple that was in the contract. They're reducing the multiple compared to what. And if they whittle down the what, the multiple stays the same. The total number is different because what they put it next to goes down. Nice. So this is the whole concept, right? You polish your own stone, or you hand them the mess and let them figure it out. And there's a value differentiation for them in there too. And if it's too messy, if you got too many companies, more than 3, most PE firms would say, we put 1 together, sometimes 2. We'll do 3, 5 to 10, not our favorite kind of a model. It's too messy. Hey, how about 20 little companies aggregated into a big one? Is it 1 company or is it 20 little companies? Is 20 little companies, not interested, sorry. And so that becomes problematic too, of who are we going to market with in the investment community and what are their desires and parameters, and we're balancing, again, how much work do we have to do up front? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Against what if we did all that work, and what would the price differential, how much interest could we gain? If we didn't do the work and went to market with 20 companies and got 3 bids, that's fine. What if we did do the work, went to the same market and got 17 bids? I'd rather have that too, right? So all of this stuff is a swirling sort of set of possibilities that it depends now. And back again, that's where the it depends part comes. We dig into who are the companies, what markets geographically are they in, who wants to buy them as an existing platform. What if you built your own platform in that place? What would it look like? Is there strength here? Are they willing and could they put themselves together in a single entity? They'll have to spend their own money to do that. That means they have to have hope that this thing's going to work. Well, okay, we can help figure out this is messy, it might be difficult to place. I mean, it's never, never, and it's not always, right? Or it's like, with this work, this is the kind of stuff they're looking for. So their comfort zone comes, all right, we're spending our own money on this, but we're also handing them something that's cleaner, which is going to have a bigger margin on the backside. So it's all about the language you speak in the investment community. Look, and here's the thing, Jimmy, right? In the long run, these guys are aggregating our individual shop systems into bigger groups. We'll go to bigger groups. The next bigger fish will come and eat that. Will become a bigger fish. At some point, we're all going to be talking their lingo. And I'm not talking having to go corporate and have it be an ugly thing, right? Where we have to play their game. We may or may not, Jimmy, depending on who we pick as a partner. That community operates a certain way, and it's well known. There are sharks with big teeth in there that'll eat each other. It's also known that there are people in there who are savvy, that understand if they let the owner-operator do what they do and made them successful in the first place, and they simply surround them with resources and financial growth capital and the ability to bring in peer groups like them to make the project bigger, that's going to be better for everybody. So part of this is finding who your partner is. What do they look like? What have they done before? How do they roll after the business is built? And this you find out by speaking their language, living in their world. Owner-operator walks in there. It's like, I don't even know what we're talking about here. It's like, you don't have to, right? Let's sit down. We'll help you unpack this stuff. If they come in here and find an owner-operator that doesn't know what they're talking about, either it's a shark and they get taken advantage of, or they're still sitting there thinking, man, we got a long way to go with these guys. Prices dropping all along the way, right?
Right. So it's an interesting point that you're making here. The automotive industry just generally doesn't understand the private equity or the finance.
But there'd be no reason to. There'd be no reason to. We got our money from SBA loans at banks, and if anything, it was family and friends or personal capital startup when we bought the shop, or we owner financed it, right? We never walked into a private equity office with guys are all wearing their suits or whatever. Right nowadays, they wear polo shirts that are, with sweaters tied around their neck, but you know what I mean, right? But it's a different world. It's a different lingo. They went to school. They learned different stuff, and it's like, and that's my whole point. You walk into their world with what you have, and you talk their language, and you tell them where the value in your business is. You tell them where the leverage for them in the future is financially. You tell them why and how you have competitive advantage. All the things that they're looking for, and those are 3 out of 100 things that would push their buttons and make them happy. You push as many of those as you honestly can, they're getting happier the longer the meetings go on. Yeah. And what you want them to do is turn around and look at each other on the way out and go, these guys got their stuff together, we'll get back to you. Because they're going right home to headquarters and going, guys, we finally found one that knows what they're doing. And you know what that does? They say, those are people we can build around. Those are people we want to put our money with. Because again, it's about return on their investment, but it's about risk management along the way. And if they build this big, ugly, wobbly thing and try to sell it upstream, the next guy is going to do to them with their investment what they would need to do to you to have you get your act together. Yeah. So clean it up now and go up that way, and it's just going to get more valuable along the way.
Yeah.
Right?
So to your qualifications in this financial industry, how many years have you been involved in private equity and finance? How many deals have you done?
I don't even want to tell you. I don't even want to tell you how long I've been doing this, right? I started a long time ago in the financial services industry, career day one, in a different format of it. But I've been hanging around the Fortune 100 up until about 23 years ago at this point, if I'm looking at the calendar. About 20 years ago, I stepped away from that world to step toward the middle and small business because didn't like the politics. A lot of good things we could do there couldn't be done because the board would not like to have to tell the shareholders the extra risks they were taking to become super high performance, that kind of thing. I just realized that the small and mid-sized business, if I sit with an owner and we talk about something and their bells go off and they go, that's what we're going to do. There's no board. The decision's made. Yeah. We turn around and we go do it. And then we drive these multiples and we put zeros on the end of checks. And, we were talking this morning about the day that a transaction closes when you've put it together right, and it's a big transaction and your future has changed. and you check to see if the money went through the account, and you open your bank account in the morning and there's this deposit in there that's got lots of zeros in it. It's like, honey, come here, check this out, right? Making payroll this month, not next month, right? And I'm just honestly about this business. When you're dialing it in at the beginning, and everybody who's here remembers that, it's like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm the lead tech foreman. I'm the senior service. Thank you for selling me your company. What did I just buy? What does this mean? It's crazy. And when you get it developed to the point where you're working on it, not in it, your leadership team is unicorns, you're making great money, you have something you can sell into a market like that. You enter into a different world. So, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And let me say one more thing. Can I talk about corporate? A lot of times what I'm hearing now is people say, I don't want to go corporate. I don't like corporate. I grew up wherever I grew up. I don't want to be that way. Okay, then don't. Build something and be the owner operator who sells what they need to buy that doesn't need to be turned corporate to have it be successful. When you're not corporate and you do it right, and you hold the unicorns and the masters and the rock stars, and you have this high performance machine, there's no smart investor in the world that's going to come in and turn that upside down to turn it into a corporate mess. If you hand them a mess and all they know to do is fix what they can see, they're going to make you act like a corporate group. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So our whole industry is like, well, I don't know, it'd be nice to get the money and all that, whatever, but I don't want to play that game. I couldn't do that to my people. I couldn't do it to my customers. It's like, well, then don't. Yeah. You can play this game and win without going corporate. You literally can. But you have to put some effort. You have to know what you're doing and put your effort into it. So, and the frank part of this too is this industry is rolling up. Yeah. There are 235,000 people in this space, and there aren't going to be that many in 10, 15 years. So every player who's successful is going to get bigger and have more geography, more rooftops, right? And it's happening. So you can be the holdout that holds onto your street corner, and all around you, you'll be like that last mom and pop funeral home or pharmacy that Walgreens is here and CVS is here, and there you are. And I've known these guys. I've been in this business more than I want to admit years-wise. I watched all of those industry roll-ups. And by the way, what we're doing here is based on the experience of what does and doesn't work in 40 industry vertical roll-ups. So there ain't nothing happening here that hasn't been done before, right? So we're bringing the best here. But you can be that holdout, and unless you're a hot rod shop or you're a special tuner or something like that, general car repair, when these bigger companies are starting to pop up on the different corners, you're going to have some tough decisions to make. And it's you know, you can run for a while and pretend this isn't going to happen, but it's happening. So you have choices to make, right? You want to play or not? And then if you don't, then think about getting out sooner, think about structuring it so that the next guy who will have to want to play out in the next 5 to 7 to 10 years, get them structured for that. I mean, there's almost no way to ignore this, no matter what you want to do, unless you sell today, close the front door, lock it, and walk away. Then you don't have to pay attention.
So what I'm hearing here too is that we're not selling out to become big box.
Oh, heck no. Well, we could, but we shouldn't, and we can watch that. There are some big box formulators that are doing consolidation now. Yeah. And you'd swear we're all independent. Wow, you look an awful lot like the big box at this point, right? Because that's the model they know. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about, is saying, hey, wait, owner operator at the top of the game, we have a different vision. We do not want to become that, and we think the greater value proposition is not becoming that. So we're going to build an organization that sells that higher level, better, more profitable approach to the business that has a whole different customer segment, by the way. And when you're ready and you hand it to the investors, they like that just as well as they like the big box thing. Like I said, if your competitive advantage is this human-centric model that we work with and all that, this mastery-based, high-performance culture, leadership, team, customer experience, all that, when that stuff's all done, then they look at this and they go, wow, even in the independent space, that shines.
Right.
And so then you don't have to go play their game.
It strengthens and preserves the mom-and-pop culture.
Absolutely right.
To grow.
Absolutely right. And guys, I got to say, like, I can't remember an owner that I've worked with, because I have the privilege of not working with jackasses. I just choose not to do that, right? But I have the privilege. I'll just edit that out. Almost every owner I talk to has a heritage of getting into this business because they care about the people. and they know how to fix cars. They look around, they go, I want to make a business out of this because I want to do the right thing. And when people want to do the right thing, carrying that forward to them becomes important. I'm in my advanced professional years. I'm not done yet. I got 40 more to go, but I'm just saying, I've been around a while. The older you get, the more you start thinking about legacy.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
And it's not just about do people like me or not. It's like, what difference have I made on the planet? And the people that I've touched, have I helped them or have I hurt them? Have I stolen from them? Have I lied to them or have I built up their lives and made it better? And from that standpoint, a lot of the folks that are in this business, and you who own a business and have technicians who've been doing this for 35 years and their hands don't work so well anymore and their backs are blown out. These guys aren't done age-wise. Their bodies are hurting. You ask any of those master technicians that are that age, hey, what's the legacy that you'd like to leave? And I'm going to guess 98% of them would say, I'd like to pass what I've learned along to the next generation. Well, most of the owners I get to work with, because we work with the cream of the crop, say the same thing. It's like, I put my life into this thing. This is my baby. And I've taken care of my people. I've fed my family. We've fed their families. We've taken good care of our customers. We're an upstanding contributor to the community. I don't want to sell that to a big box and have it explode. And I'm not knocking the big box model. I'm just saying you don't have to go corporate to preserve. You can say, we built what you're looking at, hey, a new investor, based on what we're telling you. Now, do you want this to continue after you buy it, or do you want to ruin it and watch your profits go down because that's all you know how to do? And it's the way then that you make a deal with the financial investors changes. They will not have this kind of a deal unless you tell them why they need to. And when they see it, their light bulbs go off and they go, that we're going to pay a premium price for. That we need you to stick around and help us to build. Yeah. And that's a shining star in the industry too. Because a lot of us are going to end up joining the models that turn you into a big box and everybody's going to go, see, I told you it was going to happen. And it's painful. Right? But we don't need to have it that way is what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So.
No, this is extraordinary. Because when we start in the industry, we're usually working out of mom's garage, mom's driveway, a storage unit. Now I've got a 2-bay shop. Now I'm a 4-bay shop, 6-bay, 8-bay. We've grown up in this industry and built and developed a company, a culture, a legacy. And we want that legacy to live on because it takes a lot of hard work to get where we are. Sure does. And we don't understand the private equity or the financial side of it. But now we've got 2 rooftops. Now we've got 3 rooftops. We build that culture. We build that leadership in there. And this is a beautiful way of preserving that legacy and that hard work.
And I guess, and I'll add this to it, not just preserving it, but if this is a competitive advantage that shines brighter in their eyes, make it better. Take your culture and take it higher. Take your leadership skills, take them higher. Take all of the people that you have, not just some of them. Help them all to decide to become masters. If they don't want to, that's their choice, right? If you have to lose somebody because they don't want to become a genuine master in this, go find a master. They're out there. They're just not, and they're not hard to find, but you have to know what you're looking for. You have to speak their language. You can't just go out there and wave your arms like everybody else does and they come running out of the woods and say, hey, I'm special. I want to work for you. You got to put yourself out there in a way that you bring them in. But when you turn that raised team, you got a great team now, take them up. When you take that team out there, it just shines even brighter and it's more attractive to everybody that's involved. So. The other thing you do is the way this private equity business works is, let's say you have a shop and a private equity investor comes in and works with you. Their job is to go find a guy like you who might be me. So what do they look for? If you don't show them what to look for, to align it so they can sell it for the biggest price later, they may go out and surround you by corporate-ready organizations, and you're just diluting all of what you're good for here before they go out. You get this ready to go before you talk to them. You teach them, because they don't know our industry the way we do, even at the operational level, more or less here. You teach them how we operate, and it changes the way they go look for our partners. Then they bring in other polished stones and you're building a beautiful piece of jewelry to resell. And that piece is stunning because they can't, the other next level investors are looking for one of those and they just brought in and built a whole bunch of them into this project before you sell to the next time. And that's even shinier than you were by yourself before the thing started. So we have to define this as owner operators, what we want, how we are, how that's different, why is it financially beneficial? It's not just about the people, oh yeah, and then we're paying a price for it. When people are turned on, the money follows. It literally follows. I can prove it to you. Historically in other industry verticals, I can prove it in this industry. So it's a win-win all the way around. Yeah. So put the effort into it. Or if you need to get out, we can help you get out the best you can with what you got too, right? But the opportunities are off the charts at this point.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to land.
Excellent.
Because I think that what we have discovered here is there is a way to preserve your heritage, to preserve your legacy, to preserve all of the hard work that you've put into your shop. There is a way, there is a method. We've got the guy to help you get there. Give us a call.